Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
IVM Like is an IVM production, and if you enjoy listening to our pop culture discussion, you should check out our brand new show, Bollywood Scene Stealers. Hosted by journalist Indu Mirani, who sits down to chat with Bollywood's most famous character actors like Ranveer Shori, Satish Kaushik, Gulshan Grover and more. Episodes are out every Monday. Check it out. Welcome to a new episode of IVM Likes. I'm in the studio today with Josh.
Hey.
And first time on the show, Priyanka. Say hi, Priyanka.
Hi.
Alright, this is going to be a fun show. So, at the beginning of the show, we're going to do, obviously, a round of recommendations. We've got a book, a movie, and a TV show. And then, in our second segment, we're going to get into a fight. It's going to be a very fun fight, guys. Alright, let's start with our recommendations. Who should we start with? Josh?
So, I'm going to recommend a TV show, and I've been just... not scolded, but what is the word?
Reprimanded.
Reprimanded or made fun of for the fact that all my shit is old. Or not contemporary enough. Anyway, the show I'm going to recommend is 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. So, 8 out of 10 Cats is a comedy panel show in the UK which deals with statistics and stuff. And Countdown is like a game show with word puzzles and math puzzles. And so this is sort of, it was a mashup like a decade ago. They did one mashup. And then subsequently, I think in the last 2 years, there was demand for it. So they did 2 full series, and now there's like a series with like 19 episodes. Wow. So it went from being just like a special to like two episode series to 6 episodes, and now like a permanent thing, I feel. But it's a really interesting comedy panel show because they do the puzzles, and at the same time in between they're cracking jokes, you know.
I love the puzzles.
And then they have, the puzzles are fun because one, like the opening of the show has this thing where each contestant has to bring a mascot, and each mascot is sort of some kind of absurd thing, you know. And there'll also be a dictionary corner where they check what the biggest words you can get from the word games are. And there'll be a comedian sitting with Susie Dent who checks the dictionary, who will do bits in between all the games and puzzles and stuff. So there are all these sort of little standard gags that happen throughout the show, and it just gets more absurd as, you know, with each show, I feel. Or they get like different types of performers, like they got Russian dancers once. So while the contestants are doing the puzzles, there'll be some random shit happening, like
that's actually really, I find that so interesting because how interesting is it to see people solve a puzzle, right?
Yeah,
they're just in their paper doing this, so you have 1 minute, and then that 1 minute is used properly to make a joke or like a performance or something stupid, which is great.
And also what I love about it, I think, is because when you watch all these late night shows, they have those repeating segments, right? Like James Corden has his carpool karaoke, or he has Flinch. Yeah. Like these kind of game segments that are there. But in this, it's like there are repeat segments, but each one, I don't know, they just like up themselves every time. There's always something new, or it's just, or there are like episodes which are a bit like, okay. Yeah. But I think it's just an interesting format in that they keep it fresh every time, you know.
And the panel's always great. Like, they're all funny people.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
And they're smart. The maths test stuff, I can never do.
No, that stuff it's not that tough.
Fine. I'll try solving it next time. Like, while it's so distracting. There's like a Russian dancer and stuff. And then you have to solve a maths puzzle. Yeah. So weird.
It is funny. There's one I remember where Jimmy Carr's sort of cutting his, like, he has really long toenails and he's cutting his toenails and they're doing the math puzzle and stuff. So it's really funny. It's damn good.
And they're all on YouTube, I think. That's the great bit about it. It's all available on YouTube to watch.
I don't know if it's supposed to be, but it is.
I'm sure it's supposed to be. It's on YouTube.
No, it's always different guys. Nick from Fulham and all different names. Yeah.
That's true. It's always Nick from Fulham. I really like him. He puts all QI episodes also.
Yeah, he's the QI guy.
He's our YouTube star.
Yeah. Go Nick from Fulham.
Alright, Josh. 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown.
Yeah.
And now, Priyanka, come on, give us your book recommendation.
So my recommendation is I'm a Troll, which came out a year ago, and it's written by journalist Swati Chaturvedi. So it's a complete dig out on how the BJP's social media and digital India sect really works, because she was abused and trolled like almost every journalist in the country is. So she actually talks about how there's a list of journalists that's turned out every single day, and there's a list of hashtags that is turned out every single day for these people and how they're abused. And and it's shocking that you also have people who've abused people and journalists and these public influencers, and they're actually people who've been retweeted by the Prime Minister, and they've been blocked before but unblocked. So and she also talks to someone who used to work for Arvind Gupta, who heads Digital India. So it's going to sort of nudge you and make you unlearn everything that you know about social media in India. So yeah, it's pretty serious, and but it's cool. I mean, I think it's a nudge that everybody requires, and sort of gives you some sort of awareness about how these people work. So yeah, that's my recommendation about.
I think the thing with like the books that now examine just social media phenomena of trolling, it's always, I feel like it's stuff you kind of have, like in the back of your mind, like, oh, these are just bots automated to do this or like whatever. But you see the effect they have, right? The effect is there. Like, if you are a regular person tweeting your opinion about a political party and you get trolled, if you're not a journalist who's maybe trained to take it a little bit, it's pretty bad. Even if you know it's, it's just money-making trolls that are just doing this on a day-to-day basis. I think it's still super weird.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the screen grabs because there are a bunch of screen grabs in the book.
Yeah.
And you could just read, if you read out one of those, it's like shocking.
Yeah.
There are pages and pages of it. So after a point of time, you just skip the pages because you know what they're about, right? So these are people who have no limit on what they say, how they say things.
Doesn't that make trolling less scary then? If you know it's literally just people as bots doing this. Doesn't it make it like the people who are abusing you, you can't give them any power anyway, but when you know that these are just, they're churned out of a system because they have to, then it feels like they don't have as much power than if they were real people trolling you. You know what I mean?
But
But they're not, all of them are not only bots.
Sure.
Okay, so
and it has a power in numbers. If it's like thousands of people constantly telling you something, I get that.
I mean, what is sort of digitized is that if I'm working for this team, now per person there will be around like 150 tweets. Okay, now that is obviously automated, but that per person count is crazy.
Yeah.
So that's what they try to tell you, that how these guys have put in so much, and the kind of words that they use, it's bizarre. So there are,
because the idea is not a quality argument. The idea is I will inundate you with so many trolls that you cannot, like you'll tend to give up because it's too many.
But it's crazy how organized they are.
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
the whole point of
That's
this.
how scary it
Indians
is,
are great trolls, man.
Yeah.
Organization.
Organized trolls,
Amazing.
like,
Yeah. One of the examples that she's given is even like when Amir Khan sort of said things about the intolerance thing, and they made sure that he would get out of Snapdeal. So everything was planned once that comment came out, and he does. So who would have even thought that, okay, he's an ambassador of Snapdeal, he doesn't deserve to be there. So that it actually has no link.
It's
Okay,
so
like
weird. It's like they said, okay, what makes him most money? If movies, we can't do anything about that. What else? How else can we harm him? That's so weird.
Yeah,
That's a real.
it is a
man,
weird way
imagine
to
if you
target
put this
someone.
kind of like,
Yeah.
this kind of organization and this kind of brain behind good things. It'd be
in
amazing.
actually running the country than doing this shit, like please. There were so many people who were planning like smart cities and all that. We would have been somewhere else, but okay, never mind. Yeah,
Truly.
Which really sucks. But it's scary, but it's definitely
Interesting.
something.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And though I must say that there's also a flip side that you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because there have been allegations against the author also that, she said she's been caught lying about things. But an investigation is an investigation. So I did go and verify some Twitter accounts that were here, and they're true. So you read and
You're supposed to draw your own conclusions at some point.
That's what it is. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Interesting. All right, my turn. So I'm going to recommend the new Netflix movie, actually. It's called Okja, which I just watched. So Netflix has been doing...
I feel so old suddenly.
Came out like last month.
Oh, shit.
A whole month old. So Netflix has been doing like movies, feature films for some time. I think since 2015 maybe. And some of them have been really good and most of them have been awful. But I think this is the year I've noticed them put some significant marketing. Like Brad Pitt was here to promote War Machine. And I've been seeing so many like ads for Okja that I was like, I'm going to check it out. And it was genuinely interesting. So it's basically takes the idea of what the meat industry looks like and the idea of genetically modified animals, right? Meat in general. So the story is basically that there's this company, an agrochemical company called Mirando, and they come up with this big plan to have people are really suspicious of GM food, right? So to make them feel like, this is okay, they decide to breed these super piglets, and they give these 26 super piglets.
That's the cutest thing.
Yeah, I know.
Super piglets.
And they're given to 26 farmers across the world to grow and raise in their own way, like in whatever they feel like is the way to do this. And the story follows this girl in South Korea whose grandfather is one of the farmers who got one of the super piglets. All they let this piglet do is run around in nature, and it's huge. Doesn't look anything like a pig, by the way. It looks like a hippopotamus.
Oh my God.
It's huge. And it's a very sweet animal that basically, likes the mountains and the trees, and he loves this girl, this granddaughter, Miha. But 10 years later, which was the plan for the Mirando Corporation, 10 years later, all these pigs would be bought back. There would be a crowning of the best super piglet, the super piglet. And then they would be presented on a stage, like it would be a big parade and all of that. And then people would like them, and you would not know that you're eating them, basically. Like people would endear themselves to like this pig because it's super cute looking. And they would be less
inclined,
less worried about eating them.
Oh.
If you know the animals, if you know...
Okay, got it,
the idea being that we're going
because
to make them
feel... Because they know it's GM, but now that they're familiar with the super pig, they're fine with eating it.
So the story is, 10 years later, they're trying to take the super pig from South Korea back, and Miha, who's the daughter, the granddaughter of the farmer, won't let this pig go because she loves him so much. She's grew up with him. So Miha is chasing, this super piglet down to New York now from South Korea, and she's a young girl, can't speak any English. And she's on the chase to get Okja back. While she's trying to do this, another group called Animal Liberation Front, who are non-violent, PETA kind of version in the movie, are out to kidnap Okja again. Because they don't want Okja to go to the factory.
This is a fiction film.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, fine.
I know.
Sorry,
right?
I thought it was a documentary for a second.
Yeah, it is. It's so weird, and it's done really well because it's bilingual. It goes from you hear a little bit of English when you're in New York and listening to Miranda, the corporation, and otherwise it's completely Mia and her grandfather and Okja talking in Korean.
Okja is also talking.
No, Okja's not talking. Sorry, they're talking to Okja.
I'm like, there's a talking super piglet. This is really a super piglet. You can talk also.
Anyway, so the story is basically where does your loyalty lie in the meat industry, where it is for science, it is for food, it is okay to eat food and it's okay to eat meat, but is it the practices that are okay? Is it the lying to the public that's okay? Is it making a parade out of it okay? And should this pig be allowed to live the life it deserves, even though it's it's genetically modified and mutated or whatever? A lot of people are calling it a vegan friendly movie. It's not. Even Mija eats, they show the family eating meat all the time. They show the family making chicken, but it's done in a way like, when she's eating at home, and she's eating fish at home or chicken curry at home, it's like soft lighting and cute music. But in the factory, it's like white lights, stark, cutting animals up. But the idea it's trying to, I'm assuming, trying to prove is that there are different perspectives on everything, and you can literally, depends on which side of the argument you are on. If you knew the pig, you'd think this is evil, but if you were who were trying to prevent food shortage, and you felt like this is the only way to do it, you're also right, technically. There are some bits that are really campy, like Jake Gyllenhaal is in it, and he plays like a television animal expert. Super weird performance. Tilda Swinton she's amazing. She plays the evil lady, basically. It's very well done because it's trying to balance like really soft, this little grandfather and his granddaughter living in a little nice mountains in South Korea, and here New York people, awful people, corporations doing awful things. It's very interesting.
Okay.
It's called Okja. It's on Netflix. Alright, so that was my recommendation. Josh recommended
8 out of 10 cats does count down.
And Priyanka recommended
I'm a Troll
by
Swati Chaturvedi.
And I'm recommending Netflix's new feature film called Okja. Alright, that was great, guys. That was very interesting. So now we're going to go into a fight round. It's going to be very, it's going to get intense. So Abbas and Naveen are fighting about superhero films, and have we had enough, or are we just getting started? Let's come back to that after the break.
Hi, I'm May, and I'm a huge huge fan of the indie music scene in our country, a scene that's relatively underground, even though it sometimes speaks its head overground, but there's no shortage of talent, and I get the privilege of interviewing some of the most awesome musicians on my show. I've had the likes of Euphoria, Krish Kale, Hardcore, Randolph Correa. I've had singer-songwriters, folk singers, electronic music producers, playback singers, rappers, fusion artists, instrumentalists, classical musicians, and so on. Whether mainstream or not, these people have chosen to release their original music, and these are the people currently shaping the direction in which our music scene is heading. Join me on my show every Monday and tune in to discover the unique talent coming out of India today. You can catch Made in India on your favorite podcasting app or our very own IVM podcast app.
Alright, welcome to the second section of this episode where we're bringing back IVM fights.
Yes.
We have Naveen and Abbas in the studio and they're discussing, have we had too many superhero movies? Naveen is saying, yes, it's too much, let's stop.
Yes.
And Abbas is saying, of course not, bring
No.
more, bring them on.
Yes.
Alright, let's go, let's start with Abbas.
All right. I do not think there has been an overkill of superhero films. I think we have only, or rather Hollywood has only started nailing superhero films in about the last 10 years or so. We should be glad that we live in a time where we have shared universes of superheroes, where one superhero film can blend into another and we can have different superheroes crossing over each other in one movie. The fact that superhero films get branded as one genre is, I think, where we are going wrong. Thor is fantasy fiction. Batman Begins is a thriller. Spider-Man Homecoming is a teen movie. So different genres are getting blended with the superhero element in them. So these movies are different movies. They'll work if they're good movies. They won't work if they're bad movies. Batman v Superman was a bad movie. It did not work. Ant-Man is an enjoyable heist movie. Similarly, different genres are, as Guardians of the Galaxy is a space adventure. So do not club superhero movies together. I'm glad I live in a time where I get to see so many superhero films on screen, see those comic book pages play out on screen like I always imagined they would. So no superhero overkill, bring it on. I'll watch all of them and I'll enjoy them.
Alright,
Cool.
Naveen.
I respect where you come from. As a fellow nerd, I agree with most of what you're saying. Because, like, eventually we all go to these movies and we have
Yes.
to, like, watch it and have our views and opinions on that. The problem being that our generation, essentially the one who got the later 90s and early
Yes.
2000s to be kids, we saw the first explosion of that, okay? And while you said the genre point is spot on, eventually they'll run out of genres. Given the fact that Marvel has all these things planned for Phase 4 and for Phase 5 now, once they're done with Phase 4. And the problem also being that this become a marketing strategy now. Let's look at this. Like even you look at Homecoming right now. Sony took over from Marvel for marketing and they ran it like to the ground almost. So much so like people started hating the campaign, right? A lot of these BVS also suffered from the same problem. Problem was BVS was a bad film and Homecoming got favorably good reviews. Now what happens throughout all of this is that they are selling these movies to us as brands. You know, where it was the joy of sheer watching the movie as a kid who'd like to watch superheroes, from that it's become like now we have to go for it. Come on, yeah. It's like they have taken over the blockbuster slots of us. I'm just saying that every summer now we would like to have all these amazing movies that would be not superhero. Now Disney's taken over the entire industry altogether, right? And now they have all these plans and DC's trying to emulate that. There's a Monsterverse now from Universal and MGM is planning probably its own shit. So like everybody's now going into this as a marketing plan and not more like, let's give these people how it would be honestly. Like Logan took so much time to become after so many failed X-Men movies, right? We went for all those X-Men movies, went back disappointed because it was an overkill. At one, like even now they don't know what to do with Quicksilver. After the first movie great shot with Quicksilver, second one overkill, right? And then they figure out how to make a good Wolverine movie and they figure out Logan. So once in a while we are amazed by a great superhero movie, but otherwise they come and go and we really don't give a shit.
Is the question, is your point that the budgets that these movies may have, which are so expensive, is that the marketing is like you're bombarded with it all the time?
Yeah.
Which is not wrong, it is right. You can't escape them. Like that's the problem. I think that is where overkill comes in, is that the marketing, but not the number of movies is what Abbas is saying. It's not that the number of movies is too many.
You just described movies in general. Most of the movies fail at the box office. The good ones do well.
But I do understand that you're saying that these are big ass studios that can put so much money into it that you cannot escape these movies. So you are bound to see the worst ones also. And I like to add to that is that one is that you are forced to see them because they are in your face, they are in your blockbuster. All your timings of movies are just superhero movies, and then what happens is because they're all shared universe, you cannot miss one. You can't miss the bad ones even.
And the problem, one point I left out was that now they also like the stylized versions of it and everything will obviously come more evolved as we go on with time. But we have all these first act, third act thingies. Now we all know, like, the origin stories also for that matter. Like, for example...
Okay, now can I be allowed? You're making my point. I have thought of the previous comebacks for your points, and now you're going to a different set of points.
You should have gotten a notebook for yourself. Like I have.
All right. Finish your point and then we'll go to you.
The thing is that now it's become predictable. People are like seeing through plots and it's become like you accept that at some point that we don't have the same allure to the superhero movies. The genre itself will be respected by giving it breathing space, what I say.
Okay, go Abbas.
Okay, I'll try and break it down in two parts. The first bit that you said about bombardment of marketing strategy. The Fast and the Furious has the similar amount of marketing strategy. So why don't you say we are forced to see every Fast and the Furious film? They're terrible films, but everybody goes to see them. And if you're forced to see them, you're not forced to like them. Bad movies, superhero or not, will not do well at the box office. There's a reason why Green Lantern failed is because it was a terrible movie. There's a reason why Iron Man 2 didn't do well because it wasn't as captivating a film as the other Marvel movies have been. So I agree that because superhero phenomena is still a fairly new phenomena, you're all forced to go see it. But over time, the weeding out of the good superhero films from the bad superhero films will happen eventually. No amount of marketing strategy is gonna make audiences be fooled to go see a film that they get a sense that it's not going to be that special. That's one point. The other point, you said that they have a similar 3-act structure. To some extent, I agree with you that we are having this deja vu in superhero films where the third act has to be this big fight where buildings have to fall, explosions have to happen. But again, over time, that will take its course. Doctor Strange did not have that kind of a climax. It had a tricky climax where the protagonist kind of tricks the big villain out of the predicament. I do agree that films like Wonder Woman, which are first 2 acts were great, but the third act fell into the superhero trap. But I think, again, writers will take care of that. The fact that superhero films are such a new phenomena, and within that, we had the first female-led superhero film this year, which did well. Just thinking of that, like, for example, Marvel in the comics, the character of She-Hulk, her alter ego is a lawyer. I would love to see a movie where a superhero is also a lawyer. Captain Marvel, the upcoming female superhero-led Marvel movie, which is going to be coming up, she's somewhere like a combination between a Captain America and a Superman. I would love to see a female character like that bloom on screen. The current Miss Marvel, who's a Muslim immigrant teenager from Pakistan, I would love to see that story. It's a coming of age story waiting to happen with the superhero element. So the possibilities are endless. I am just waiting for all of that to happen. The superhero genre is evolving. It's getting better with time. The ones which follow the same trap are gonna fall behind eventually. Like X-Men Apocalypse didn't do very well because it's kind of like an old school throwback to the previous superhero movies. It didn't do well. So the ones which adapt, the ones which do go ahead with times, are the ones superhero films which will survive the test of time, is what I feel.
Cool. Okay, so to that point, I agree that there'll be obviously good movies and bad movies, and we'll kind of like be able to pick them up years later.
Yeah.
The problem is in this competition, right, to churn out more movies. For example, why did it take so much time for no She-Hulk movie to ever come out, right? Also because this is a franchisee thing. Let's look at it also, we have to consider marketing because that's how they're giving us all these movies. Based on like, okay, which movie do you want? And they'll ask like a very cis audience and they'll say, oh, we want a white superhero like Spider-Man to be rebooted thrice, right? Problem again being that they will never go back to like smaller stories and all these points because they don't have the kind of audience right now until they build on that. But then we have to go back to the basics and see how we perceive superheroes, right? They are these larger than life characters we want to be and we want to admire them. Cool. But if we have so many of them and so many different shared universes and they're churning them out like crazy, then, like the belief system kind of goes a little wonky.
No, it doesn't. I am a believer. I still believe. And there aren't so many shared universes. There's just one Marvel shared universe and one DC shared universe.
There's more apart from that.
They're
as
not
well.
superheroes. If you're talking about the horror shared universes and whatever. And in an ideal scenario, because you said that, because these are supposed to be big budget films, in an ideal world, I think as we go along, there will be smaller independent films which will also be superhero films. In the comics, they do that already. A couple of episodes ago, Alika recommended a comic book of Hawkeye where he doesn't put on the suit at all. It's a very intimate story where he's fighting for the rent where he's staying.
Correct.
So stories like that will eventually come on screen with Netflix, with television, with so many avenues.
Again, see, Netflix and we have superheroes there as well, right?
So
Yeah, we have
don't you
Daredevil.
love it that the texture of a Luke Cage is so different from that of a Jessica Jones, is so different to that of a Flash or a Supergirl?
Exactly. So now to watch the end of what they become, right? They become the whole team together after some time, and so I have to watch Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Finn and Iron Fist to be on terms with everything that's
No,
going
you
on.
don't. These are all self-contained stories
No.
within themselves as well. I'll say this, I'll give you this. If a superhero film with all its connections and all its shared universes, if it's not a self-contained story within itself, then it's a failure as a superhero film or a TV show. I'll give you that.
I do think that they are mostly self-contained, but what happens is sometimes they are self-contained for sure, and they're enjoyable movies by themselves. But if you want to watch the next Captain America, you have to have watched something where his origin story was mentioned, and with Tom
Not
Holland
really.
also as Spider-Man. You saw him in what, Captain America?
In
right?
Civil War.
In Civil War.
Have you seen Homecoming?
I haven't. I'm going to
Okay,
go
so
see
there's
it
a
tonight.
little snippet in the beginning where they kind of cover it in the first 5 minutes. There's
Fair
a
enough.
recap.
Fair enough. I feel like I can't pick a superhero I like and just follow his movies. I'm going to watch all Captain America. I feel like
Amazing.
I can't do that because I have to have watched everyone. I feel like
That's an individual choice.
I get
right?
that. I get that. And I also get your point where the problem is that there is no breathing space for these. Like if there's going to be one every block, every whatever season,
slot that
it's
comes
a
in.
big slot that takes up, and I feel like it is a lot. It is. I mean, it's not just the money spending, it's a constant bombardment of this is coming, this is coming.
Don't
this is
watch
coming.
trailers. Don't look at the poster. Just
So,
wait for the movie.
it's just like-
just wait
That's-
for the movie and go
that's
for the movie.
impossible.
See,
That's
we're not living in the
impossible.
70s.
It is not
now. Come on.
That's
Impossible.
impossible.
So that's what the viral marketing, we have to be on social media to have watched all of these things. And in today's time and age, you're like, oh, you're left behind in all of this. That also happens in
So
that
that
way.
applies for every film, Naveen. It's not just the superhero.
Exactly,
Every big budget
exactly.
film.
But then how many, from last year, how many horror movies do you remember that stood out, and how many superhero
But it's also
movies?
it's also the budgets, right? Obviously, the superhero movies
Yeah.
have a larger budget,
Yes.
and that's why they can do that. That's why they can be on every bus and every
No, so
bus stop
exactly.
you're
If you
standing
didn't watch
at.
the trailer and went solely for the movie to enjoy the movie on its own, what stays with you and what does not, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to be feeding into all of this to get the frenzy all of together.
Yeah, I think the frenzy is actually sometimes a little bit of the problem. I do tend to not want want to watch a movie because it's too much marketing sometimes. Not that it's a bad thing. Movies are pretty good maybe, and
Yes,
they're definitely
yeah.
enjoyable. But sometimes the marketing is too much. It's
So
because
then that's a
it's
different
big
debate
budget
about
movies.
is there an overkill of marketing? That's another debate.
So that is for the individual movies that come out. The eventual point being that these guys are trying to now put out everything that they got in their sleeve, right? To put all the cards on the table and make sure that they have this running thing going for as long as they can put out movies. Because they have all these actors signing contracts for years and years and everything. Tom Holland has sold his soul to the whole thing at this point, right? He's 21. Belongs to Marvel now. So eventually you look at this, how that guy shows frustration on his face in the interviews that he's tired of being a part of this, because he's like, oh my god, I'm in this together now. So you look at this, for now, the next 20 years, we're going to get more Marvel movies.
He's getting paid a ton of money to do that. It's not like he's being forced to do it.
But really, this money he will eventually.
Oh, now we're getting existential.
If we're really looking at superhero themes in this debate itself,
Yeah.
is money the winner
real
at the end?
superhero.
Come on,
Money is the real superhero.
Okay,
Where is the Batmobile gonna come from?
Okay,
Money.
I get both of your points, and you are right that maybe we're still in the early stages, so bad movies will get weeded out and it will change. But it feels like a lot. It feels like there's no breathing space for these. It's like I have to. Every week I have to be excited about something new superhero and I have to follow his goddamn origin story. I get that also. But I also think that maybe you are right, and then in some years we will see the small independent superhero movies. That's a possibility.
Yes.
Seems far out right now. But I think I see both your points. I think I get it. I do think that they can chillax a little bit on the money making.
You're being biased towards Naveen right now.
Why?
Why? I do feel bombarded by this.
I made very strong points.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys, let's not get into this argument. All right, cool. That was a good fight, guys.
Yes.
You guys brought some good points to the table. I'm undecided, but I'll go see Spider-Man today and see how I
Yeah,
feel.
please do. It's a great movie. That I think Naveen will also agree.
Yeah, it's
I do like Spider-Man in general. Of course, nobody takes my opinion because I liked Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and I was like, I liked it.
Yeah.
This is done.
You just lost all your credibility in one
As a
sentence.
moderator.
This is overkill.
All right, that was our episode. I don't think we have a winner, but I think, I guess everybody is a winner. Superheroes are the winner. If you guys have an opinion on this, find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We are IVM Podcasts, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts.
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.